Hi everybody. With the deer season's about to close, this is the time of year I like to go over my equipment and look to see what improvements or what changes I'd like to make. On this episode, I decided to change up my arrow setup. I'll go through on the new way I build them and discuss a little bit on how cost effective it can be to build your own arrows. I'm also going to do a short review on an arrow saw. So if you're into building arrows, or if you're interested in building your arrows, stick around. This video is for you. I've been building my arrows for about 6 years now. I don't have anything against archery shops or anything. If you want to go to an archery shop and have them build your arrows for you, by all means. If you don't want to deal with the hassle of doing it yourself, go for it. But me personally, I like to build them myself. That way I know every single arrow is tuned and built to my specifications, the way I want them. The average cost for an archery shop to build your arrows can add up to about $25 to $35 per dozen. Sometimes up to $70, depending on how advanced you want your build to be. And I'm going to show a little bit of pricing on some of the products I'm using to build my arrows that might help curb the cost of building your arrows. So let's get into the arrows and then we'll get into the build. Now the arrows that I used to run were the Black Eagle Deep Impact. Great arrow, but if you got the stainless steel outserts, they were a little tricky. You had to sand the end down to get them to fit. And it was hard to find lighted nocks at this size of an arrow. My new arrow setup for the upcoming seasons is going to be the Easton Access 300 spine 5mm arrow. I'll still be running the nocturnal nocks and a stainless steel half outs. I just wanted to build an all-around arrow that I could use for both turkey hunting and deer hunting. Last year I picked up an arrow saw that's called the Mod Saw. It runs about $169, but compared to some of the high-end saws out there that run up to $500 to $600, not too bad. And it's a pretty quality saw, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. You get the arrow spinner, the wobble indicator, and a squaring tool all in one package. It also has a port in the back where you can attach a shop vac to collect the dust. A lot better than a DIY saw that I made from a Harbor Freight bench saw. All right, here's the Mod Saw. You got your power cord here. And you got your switch right here. It lights up when it's on. And it has these mounts. I mounted it to a piece of oak trim here, as you can see. It has these indicators, measurements on there, so you can dial in to what size your arrow you want. It comes with the spinners on them, and all these pieces can be moved and adjusted, even the spinners on the back. You have an indicator for when you get done assembling your arrow. You spin it on the spinners and you can see how straight your arrow is. You also have a little round disc with sandpaper. Oh, you can see that real well. That squares up the arrow. Now I chose the black one, but this also comes in like a silver color. But I felt like black would be easier for me to read the numbers on here. First thing you do, take the knock off, put your arrow into the rest there. And next what you want to do is turn your saw on. And you just feed it into the blade and turn it at the same time. Get a nice straight cut. Put your arrow on the spinner. You can either move this up right close to their spinner, or you could just set it here and spin it like this. Then what I like to do is I like to take a Q-tip, get a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it, and then clean the inside end of my arrow that I just cut. Just to make sure I get any loose carbon out of there, so when I go to glue it, it glues real nice. All right, now I'm going to put in my outserts. I've got the stainless steel half outs for these arrows from Easton. Instead of using this Instabond glue like I used to use before, which is good, but it sets up so fast. It's hard to really work with. So we're going to take some JB Weld, the slow cure. Don't need much, just a little bit. Mix up my epoxy here to look nice and gray in color. And then what I do is I take my outsert, I screw the broadhead onto it, and I'm just gonna put some epoxy on there. I like to put a lot on there. I probably overdo it, but I want to make sure this outsert is firmly attached to the arrow. And then what I do is I take it, put it on the arrow, spin the arrow as I'm pushing it in, give it a couple turns, get the excess off of there. All right. Now, let's check it on the spinner. See how straight we are. Line it up to the indicator just like that. Looks pretty straight. So I'm kind of looking at the point with that line. Now this is why I use the JB Weld, is because if I need to move this insert at all or pull it out to make any adjustments to straighten it up better, I can. It takes about 24 hours for this stuff to cure. So that arrow is done. So after you get your insert glued in with the epoxy, you want to leave the knockoff to set them up against the wall like this. That way air can still get through the arrow and cure the epoxy. Well, there you go. That is my new way of building my arrows. Is it cost effective enough? I think so. If you can get past buying an arrow saw, heck, you could even make your own arrow saw if you want. It's all up to you on how you want to build. I'll put a link in the description of the arrow saw. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.